Vitamin D is one of the most beneficial health supplements out there. That's simply a fact that no one can dispute. But there is a catch, because there's certain things you must know and act on before taking vitamin D. Otherwise, benefits will be limited, and at worst, it can actually harm you. So today, I'm going to take you where most other channels fail to go, and together, we're going to uncover the truth behind one of the world's most popular health supplements. And for those new to the channel, my name is Ryker Black. And just to be clear, I'm not a chiropractor turned health guru pretending to be a doctor. And I'm not one of those ubiquitous YouTubers that simply regurgitates information they've read somewhere else without actually understanding what they're talking about. What I am, however, is a veritable human lab rat. And over the past 3 decades, I've tested practically every health supplement and longevity protocol that's ever existed. And in my time, I've written several life extension books, provided personal consultations to health-focused clients the world over, and developed a 7-step longevity system known as the Immortal Protocol. And it's this channel's sole purpose to provide practical health advice and information based on real-world experience and thorough research. Because I'm very aware that your time is both valuable and limited, and it's my responsibility to respect that. So if this sounds like your kind of channel, then do us both a favour and hit that subscribe button. Now, back to the presentation. Vitamin D is crucial for maintaining healthy bones, supporting the immune system, ensuring proper muscle function, promoting cardiovascular health, regulating mood, and preventing chronic diseases. If someone is deficient for a prolonged period, then significant health problems will follow. But here's the big issue we're currently facing. Vitamin D deficiency is a significant global health issue, and it affects a substantial portion of the population. Now, according to various health organisations, it's estimated that 30 to 50% of the world's population are deficient in vitamin D, and that's based on a threshold serum 25 hydroxyvitamin D level of below 20 nanograms per milliliter, which is actually ridiculously low. Especially when we consider that the more we drop below 50 nanograms per milliliter, the greater our risk of bone disorders, cardiovascular diseases, certain cancers, and immune system dysfunctions. The threshold commonly used to indicate a deficiency is therefore quite obviously too low, and really does need to be higher to have any chance of reducing disease risk on a global scale. But of course, for viewers of this presentation, it goes way beyond that. Because what we're interested in are vitamin D levels that promote peak health, and we'll deal with that shortly. But first, let's take a very quick look at the various forms of vitamin D and which might be best from a longevity point of view. There actually exist 5 forms of vitamin D. There's vitamin D1, D2, D3, D4, and D5. However, D2 and D3 are the most relevant forms for human health, with D3 being the significantly more potent and effective of the two. Therefore, D3 is by far the better choice for supplementation purposes. We can obtain our vitamin D from 3 separate sources. We can get it from exposing our skin to UVB rays, by eating certain foods, or by taking a supplement. So let's take a look at the pros and cons of each of those sources, starting with food. Foods that naturally contain vitamin D include fatty fish, liver, and egg yolks, with wild salmon by far the best source. Alternatively, some foods that have vitamin D added during processing include fortified milk, fortified plant-based milk, orange juice, and cereals. However, these fortified products most commonly use the inferior D2 form, so do bear that in mind. Also, unless you're prepared to consume nearly 1 kilogram of wild salmon every day, you're very unlikely to satisfy your body's vitamin D requirements from food alone. Probably the most enjoyable way to get your vitamin D3 is from sensible sun exposure, but just how much time you need to spend in the sun to meet your minimum D3 requirements depends on various factors, including skin type, geographic location, time of day, and season. However, here's a simple guide that you can use as a very rough estimate. Fair-skinned individuals would require between 15 to 30 minutes of full body midday sun exposure a couple of times per week, and that's assuming no sunblock is used. Darker skinned persons, on the other hand, may need between 30 minutes to 2 hours, and that's due to the higher melanin levels, which reduce the skin's ability to produce vitamin D from sunlight. Please also do consider the following. The closer you are to the equator, the stronger the UVBs throughout the year. And of course, vitamin D synthesis is lower in winter months when UVB radiation is weaker. You'll also find midday sun exposure to be the most effective for vitamin D synthesis, and that's due to the angle of the UVB rays. You should also be aware that older adults unfortunately have a reduced capacity to synthesize vitamin D from sunlight. And by the way, it's impossible to get too much vitamin D from sun exposure. The body will only assimilate and use what it needs. So even if you're already taking a D3 supplement, getting lots of sun exposure won't result in an overdose scenario. And lastly, sensible limited use of sunbeds is a viable alternative to sun exposure in the wintertime and will effectively boost your D3 levels. Next, let's take a look at vitamin D supplements. Firstly, it's important to understand that vitamin D2 comes from plants, while animals, including humans, produce D3. And as I already mentioned, D3 is a superior form. The vitamin D3 in supplements is usually derived from lanolin, that's sheep's wool, or fish oil. It's chemically identical to the D3 produced in the skin following sun exposure, and when we ingest it orally, it simply gets absorbed through our digestive system. Individual responses to supplementation can vary. Factors such as body weight, absorption efficiency, and existing health conditions can influence how much your D3 levels will increase. And it's important to recognize that unlike with sun exposure, oral D3 bypasses the skin's regulatory mechanism, and so ingesting too much can potentially result in toxicity. It's important then that we establish what a safe optimal level is, and at what point levels might become problematic. So here's a general guide as to the likely impact on your health of specific D3 levels as measured by blood testing. Anything under 20 nanograms per milliliter is considered a clinical deficiency. A level of 50 nanograms per milliliter should be considered the minimum necessary to maintain one's health. Optimal levels to promote peak health and disease protection appear to be in the 80 to 100 nanogram per milliliter range. Personally, I like to keep my levels close to 100, and I achieve this using 10,000 IU of D3 daily using 2 split dosages of 5,000 IU. Levels over 150 nanograms per milliliter are thought to have some risk of toxicity in the long term, for example hypercalcemia. However, this is by no means conclusive, and several recent studies have used huge dosages of vitamin D3 without issue. As you will see, using the ancillaries that we're about to discuss shortly is likely the most important factor when it comes to avoiding toxicity, even at highly elevated dosages. Bottom line, if you want to reduce your risk of cardiovascular disease, cancer, and all-cause mortality, then aim to keep your levels above 50 nanograms per milliliter. You can check your baseline levels by blood testing, or alternatively, you can simply start by taking a D3 dosage that's known to get most people above the 50 nanogram per milliliter level, and that's around 5,000 IU per day. You can then check your levels 8 to 12 weeks down the line to see how you're responding. But before you go any further, there's a couple of super important bits of information that you not only need to know, but must act on before you swallow that first D3 capsule. Otherwise, over time, you could easily end up damaging your health rather than improving it as you actually intended. And the very first piece of information is regarding the critical role that magnesium plays in activating vitamin D3. Magnesium deficiency is a significant global health concern affecting a considerable portion of the population, and it's an issue that's prevalent across various regions, including both developed and developing countries. For instance, around half of the population in the United States is magnesium deficient, largely due to diets high in processed foods that lack sufficient magnesium. We also mustn't forget that there's a big difference between merely ingesting sufficient magnesium to avoid being classed as deficient compared to what's actually optimal for our health, especially when we consider the following. You see, magnesium is crucial for activating vitamin D. It helps convert vitamin D into its active form, calcitrol, enabling calcium absorption and utilization. Without the availability of sufficient magnesium, this process is significantly impaired, greatly reducing the efficacy of D3. However, by simply ingesting a magnesium supplement, we can fully alleviate this potential issue. So the next question is, how much and what form of magnesium should we be taking? Basically, for every 5,000 IU of vitamin D3 that you take in supplement form, 250 milligrams of magnesium will be close to optimal. And most experts agree that magnesium threonate is a superior form. And that's due to high bioavailability and its ability to effectively cross the blood-brain barrier. So with the effective activation of D3 taken care of, we can now move on to dealing with the other important piece of information, and that involves vitamin K2. While vitamin D3 is crucial for calcium absorption, vitamin K2 directs calcium to where it needs to go, essentially your bones and teeth. And it keeps it away from places it shouldn't be, like your arteries and soft tissues. So essentially, without sufficient K2, the calcium absorbed thanks to D3 can end up getting deposited in your arteries, which can lead to arterial calcification and cardiovascular issues. Not good, and definitely a cause for concern when we consider the following. Studies have highlighted that a substantial portion of the population do not consume sufficient dietary vitamin K2, with deficiencies even more pronounced in older adults due to their decreased absorption efficiency. In fact, even in North America, despite high awareness, a significant percentage of individuals still fail to meet the basic minimum RDA of K2. And of course, as I'm sure you're aware, government RDAs generally fall well short of what is actually optimal. The logical solution is to eat K2 rich foods if you can, while also taking a K2 supplement in the appropriate amounts to best support your vitamin D3 intake. Now, the best type of vitamin K2 to take alongside your D3 is the MK7 form, as this is the form of K2 that best supports calcium metabolism. An appropriate amount of K2 to take, if following my previous suggestion of 5000 IU of D3, would be around 120 micrograms, which is near enough a 1-to-1 ratio of D3 to K2. Next, we're going to look at what, in my opinion, is the safest, easiest and most effective way of meeting your vitamin D3 requirements. I'm very grateful to be in the position where I can afford to purchase the very best supplements available. And if I recommend a product to you, it's because I actually do buy and use it myself. So I want to make it very clear that I'm not beholden to any supplement companies, and I say whatever I want about any product. Whenever a brand offers me a product discount, then I will always ask that brand to make that same discount available to my viewers, which is why you'll often see my personal discount code Ryker displayed on many of my videos. Supplements aren't cheap, and I want every one of my channel viewers to have the best chance of accessing the same supplements I use. The vitamin D3 product that for me stands head and shoulders above all others is the D3 K2 Magnesium Combination Supplement from Do Not Age. Not only does this product do away with the hassle of taking 3 separate supplements, it uses the perfect ratios of D3, K2 and Magnesium 3 and it contains only the purest, highest quality ingredients available. Not only that, the capsules contain absolutely no fillers, binders or flow agents. So do yourself a favour and take advantage of my exclusive 10% discount code, which will work for any product in the Do Not Age range, including subscriptions and special offers. Enjoy! That's all for now, and as usual, take care, be healthy, and I'll see you again soon.